Hi everyone. So my name is Janelle, and I work with Amplify. I also do a lot of other stuff, like we talked about yesterday. So today I want to, basically this presentation is going to focus on amplifying the pun, excuse the pun, amplifying your music's reach online. And how you can use free or cheap tools basically to do that. Just a bit of a background about myself. I got involved in marketing because I'm an artist as well. I was in a band back in Malta for a long time, basically. I started out when I was like 13 years old. So at that time, I didn't know what I was getting into. And I had to learn quick, and that was, as I was telling a couple of you yesterday, I got involved in marketing basically to save money on getting other people to do the band stuff, basically, the band's marketing. So yeah, that's how I got involved in music marketing, basically. I find that as a DIY artist, it's important to have a lot of different tools that you can use, so that you don't depend on other people and you make things happen as cheaply as possible, basically. Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to get a bit of a background about each and every one of you, so that I can also adapt this presentation according to where you're at. So if you can present yourself, maybe where you're from and what you're involved in, that would be really cool. So yeah, whoever wants to start. Oh yeah. Yeah, we're making this a bit interactive, honestly, because I don't want it to be like...
Okay, cool. I'm Rafael. I'm a UI UX designer and a musician. I'm actually from AVEIRO, but I'm currently living in Lisbon. So, and I have a project which is like a kind of piano-driven rock project. I do it all by myself. And yeah, and I'm here to connect with mind-like people, so yeah.
Nice one.
Hi. Not the greatest day. It is good to have low voice in the morning.
Yeah.
But not for singers in general. Hello, my name is Rita. I come from Lisboa. That's where I'm based. I am a musician, singer / also compose my stuff, but a teacher, and also a co-owner of a label and co-founder of a feminine festival. Yeah.
Wow.
That's it.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Geis from Brazil, in the north of Brazil, in Amazon forest. And I'm living here in Porto for 5 years now. And I was involved from festivals and many productions in Brazil, small ones in the countryside, and do some projects there too. And now I'm involved here in Porto with a band, a DJ set, and some projects that we are running to connect Brazil with Portugal and Amazon.
Nice one.
That environment artistic, and is that we are running
Nice
things
one.
here around. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Laura. I do communications at a venue here in AVEIRO that hosts concerts. And yeah, that's that's why I'm here.
I'm João. I'm from AVEIRO. I'm a graphic designer for a communication team in a cultural venue.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a music project on the side.
Cool.
Hello, my name is Sebastião. I'm a musician from AVEIRO. And I have a classic background, but now I'm trying to compose my own music on mainly rock, post-punk, bands, jam bands, and yeah, trying to discover how to put myself online, actually.
Nice one.
Hello, I'm Tiago. I'm a web developer and designer. I run a cultural guide for all Portugal, Costa Rica, and 5 regions in Spain. And I'm here to learn.
Nice one, thank you. You guys are all very, very interesting. Yeah, so Amplify is basically a marketing platform, and it's over the last year, we expanded a lot, and it now includes distribution as well as promotion and a tool to manage your relationship with your fans, basically. Music and technology is at the heart of everything that we do, and our vision is to create a new music economy which is based around the artist, basically. A lot of the people on the team are artists as well. In fact, one of our co-founders is with a very popular band. They're called Kasabian. I don't know if you've heard of them, but yeah, I'm in a group chat with him, and I'm like trying to look cool, basically. Yeah, so I think one of the key things about Amplify is that we're powered by Web3 technology. I don't know if if you've ever heard of Web3 or you're at all involved in that kind of space. But basically, I mean, maybe you've heard of the whole, ChatGPT situation. But we're basically trying to use tools like artificial intelligence, decentralization, the blockchain, etc., to create something that's a bit more artist-friendly and something that, actually makes artists money, not how the system is at the moment. And yeah, my main goal is to help artists at different levels become full-time artists and elevate their career, basically. So whether you're an independent artist, a promoter, a small label owner, we try to help, music professionals engage with their fans, audience, yeah, and help everyone basically take their career to the next level. Yeah, so our business is divided into 3. We've got Amplify Link, which is a centralized marketing tool that is basically a smart link, which is linked to different marketing tools like analytics, unlock pages, etc. We've got Amplify Live, which we're developing, and that is, a very, very cool project. It's basically a way how to, it's a complex process, so I'm gonna try and simplify it as much as possible. It's a way how to continue generating money from one single gig, basically. So yeah, it's a type of crowdfunding that allows you to continue generating money after the gig has finished. We're still developing this technology because it's very complex, but yeah, it's basically a mix of Patreon and Bandcamp, and yeah, it's probably going to be launched next year. So I suggest that you guys keep an eye out on that, especially if you're connected to local venues, local promoters, etc. And Amplify You, which is a global community that is passionate about positive change, upcoming trends, and making education accessible to everyone. Yeah, and it mainly revolves around free online articles, free courses, what we're doing today, and yeah, making information as open source and accessible to everyone as possible. So it's very utopian. But, it's good to think in a utopian way, I guess. Yeah, so this is like a bit of a graphic about what we do. Yeah, so the first thing that we're going to discuss is understanding the digital landscape. And basically a bit of a quick history about the music industry and how it developed and where we're at today and how, all of us can benefit from it, recognize what's not working, and use it as leverage, to improve upon what we're currently doing, again, to take careers to the next level. So I've got a little video prepared for you, which is a brief history of the music industry, which I found very interesting and wanted to share with you all today. So hopefully it works.
What happens when you take one of the most streamed songs of all time,
We can get more.
say Drake's One Dance, and record it onto the oldest format of recorded music, a wax cylinder? Okay,
Is that
stop.
possible to increase
Not
the
great.
volume a little bit?
But
Please. Try to add subtitles as well. Yeah.
what happens when you take one of the most streamed songs of all time, say Drake's One Dance, and record it onto the oldest format of recorded music, a wax cylinder? Okay, stop. Not great. But fast forward to today, and a lot has changed. We no longer really own music. We just stream it. Streaming is almost entirely responsible for getting the industry back on track. But the question is now, can streaming take it back to its heyday after fundamentally changing the way we consume it? Maybe. But first, let's look at how we got here. So, back to that phonograph. This was the start of it all.
Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
Thomas Edison's invention meant that for the first time, people could listen to music from the comfort of their homes, and it could also be shared and sold. As the phonograph's popularity grew, a few enterprising Americans came together to form what is now known today as Columbia Records. Over the next 5 decades, the phonograph took different forms, from this cylinder shape to flat discs, until finally being replaced by In 1948, Columbia Records introduced the long play, allowing for multiple songs on one record. Vinyl remained the dominant recording format for most of the 20th century.
Go, Johnny, go, go! Everybody, let's roll! The ring of fire.
And as rock and roll, blues, and country kicked off, sales boomed and albums sold out. But by the late 50s, new technology would again rock the industry. When first introduced, the RCA magnetic tape wasn't a game changer. But being able to record music on a smaller device for greater portability inspired a series of innovations. Adoption by car makers ensured a quick rise in the tape's popularity. And by the late 60s, most cars offered 8-track players. For the first time, driving down the interstate and listening to, say, the Beatles was possible. Road trips got a whole lot more exciting. But it would be Sony that changed the game with the iconic, yes.
The music with the Sony Walkman.
With the Walkman, listeners could take music with them whenever and wherever. Around the same time, MTV launched, giving record labels an opportunity to market their music. For artists, that meant it wasn't just about the song anymore, but the ability to offer a whole artistic package, and that became a big focus for icons like Madonna and Michael Jackson. But with the rise of the digital era came the unraveling of the cassette tape. Thanks to booming CD sales, the music industry partied like it was, 1999. Profits peaked that year, with $14.6 billion in sales in the US alone. There was Nirvana and Tupac, the Spice Girls, Oasis, Backstreet Boys, Britney, Mariah, and Selena. Unfortunately, You can only party like it's 1999 for so long. Software like Napster paved the way for a new era of piracy. CD sales plummeted as more and more people logged on. Free music didn't sit well with the music industry, and they fought long and expensive legal battles, eventually seeing some sites shut down. But the damage had already been done. Sharing music over the internet was here to stay.
I've got an iPod here.
And true, with the introduction of the iPod and MP3 players, the industry did see a boost from digital downloads. But it wasn't enough to make up for the dwindling physical format sales, and artists were forced to tour more to bring in the dough. Meanwhile, streaming was just getting started. Some companies introduced subscription models with limited music libraries, while others, like Pandora, operated as internet radio stations with ads. But the breakthrough came in 2011. Swedish startup Spotify managed to do what the others could not: license a vast library of music. Instead of buying and owning songs and albums, we started listening to ads or paying monthly fees in exchange for access to, essentially, all the music in the world. Over the following years, there was an explosion of services. Artists and labels now count on these services for the bulk of their profits from recorded music, while many argue that artists are not being paid enough. Although streaming is responsible for huge revenue growth in the industry, tech companies aren't yet making money from it, and it's still not clear how they will, as they continue to prioritize growth over profits. Plus, if history is any clue, it won't be long before new technology shakes everything up again.
Nice one. So, as you've seen in that short video, the digital era has obviously revolutionized the music industry and basically changed how artists distribute their music, as well as how music fans consume music. And this gave rise to a paradigm shift that obviously gave fans access to on-demand music. I guess we all use Spotify and similar YouTube and similar platforms. So, but recently there's been a lot of talk about how this has impacted artists, record labels, as well as music enthusiasts. The convenience of streaming has led to a decline in physical album sales, which obviously impacts artists' pockets. And as a result, artists and industry professionals, they have to adapt their strategies to focus on maximizing their digital presence, basically, and to use streaming platforms as a promotional tool rather than as a way to make money. One of the main things about these streaming platforms is that it has created a crowded marketplace, meaning that you have to do more and you have to work more to stand out and gain visibility. This shift obviously has raised questions about fair compensation for artists, and recently in the UK, for example, there's been a legal debate about this. A lot of artists have taken Spotify and similar platforms to court in order to change how artists are paid. Because at the moment, each stream gives you like $0.0001, and artists are campaigning for this to change. So navigating the intricacies of digital rights management and monetization has become a critical aspect for artists, and I think it's important for artists, both independent and those signed with a label, to understand what the rights are and how they can leverage digital platforms basically to get more bookings, to get more sponsorships, for example, or brand deals in order to sustain their careers after all. Obviously, digital platforms like Spotify, etc., they have a lot of pros. Obviously, the biggest one is wide audience reach. That streaming platforms, whether you like them or not, they provide global accessibility and exposes your music to people around the globe. It's obviously convenient for consumers since you can listen to music on the go, you can listen to, you can listen to music from every era, from every country, and yeah, it's convenient, let's face it, and nowadays it's all about convenience. Music discovery, through streaming platforms or algorithms, you have the opportunity to discover new artists based on your preferences. Data and insights, which is one of the most interesting things about these platforms, is that you can get valuable data and insights about who is listening to your music, which territories and which cities are the most popular, and you can use them to, for example, target festival bookings, headline tours and stuff like that. And this way you can make informed decisions about your music and marketing strategies rather than throwing money at things without knowing where your fans are, basically. Revenue potential. I mean, obviously streaming royalties are lower when compared to traditional sales. However, you have the potential to generate revenue through global exposure, through bookings, for example, and sync placements as well. i.e., someone, for example, there might be a music supervisor in Los Angeles who works on some movie, and they might listen to your music on Spotify and, decide to work with you. That happened to my band recently. And yeah, you realize that, okay, there are a lot of issues with these platforms, but in reality, it does give these people access to your music. Musical experimentation. I think one of the most interesting things about the streaming era is the fact that music has become more genre-less. So you can include elements from different styles of music in your song, for example, and no one would say anything. Back in the day, if you're a fan of rock music, you only listen to rock music, for example. Nowadays, people listen to everything. So you can experiment as much as you want without, people judging you or whatever. Playlists are obviously the new album, both fortunately and unfortunately. But that can mean that you can create one song in one style and create another song in a completely different style. And I guess that's satisfying for you as an artist to experiment with different things. The cons, which you hear about in the media, basically. Lower royalties, obviously the royalty rates per stream on these platforms leave much to be desired. And what artists would earn from one physical sale of a CD or digital download is significantly more than what you'd earn from one single stream, making it challenging for artists to earn significant income solely from streaming. The crowded marketplace that we mentioned, that obviously there are a lot of songs on these platforms, so there is more competition. Discovery challenges for emerging artists. Unfortunately, these streaming platforms sometimes, or most of the time, big labels such as Universal, BMG, they have a stake in the company. For example, I believe Universal has a majority stake in Spotify. So that means that they obviously promote the Universal artists more than independent artists. Unequal revenue distribution. This revenue distribution models favors established artists more than independent and smaller artists, and lack of context and album experience. Obviously, the rise of playlists has led to a decrease in the popularity of albums, and as we all know, albums create a story. So if someone, for example, if someone goes viral with one song and, no one else buys the whole album, people don't buy the whole album, that's obviously not sustainable in the long term. Dependence on algorithms, while they can aid music discovery, they can potentially limit the diversity of music that reaches the listeners. By focusing solely on older songs, for example, if you like a particular artist, you get recommended that artist over and over again. So you're technically not listening to any of the newer artists, yeah, I just wanted to ask you guys, what are some of the pros and cons or your experiences that have directly impacted your career so far when it comes to these digital platforms? I'm interested to hear your stories, just because, yeah, obviously, it's important to talk about these things. So yeah, if anyone has any interesting stories to share about how people discover their music on Spotify, for example, or how they got directly impacted because of all of this. Yes. Yes. Yeah, in this presentation, there's a lot of back and forth because I'm interested in hearing your thoughts as well.
Hi. So first of all, it all started when well, I'm not a technological person. That's something I'm trying to change. But I realized that that I was releasing music for a long time without any notion of the consequences of not understanding the market. Mm-hmm. So for a long time, I was only focused on, recording, bringing out albums and collaborations, and I thought that would be enough. And then I realized on Spotify that I was already on Spotify without me being asked if I wanted to or not. So and that was the first impact, like, wait, I have no control over my music, digitally speaking. So that made me think, okay, so this is happening either I want it or not. The only difference is that I can gain a little bit more of control over something that should have been mine to start with. Of course, if you make collaborations, then your colleagues are also implied in it, and they might put the music out. And but still, I really felt like a part of what I do was being stripped from me without my permission. And then I started, of course, interacting with Spotify, although again, not in a very conscious manner. I realized that there was another artist with the same name as me, and she was being credited for my stuff, and I guess somehow I was being credited for her stuff as well. Although we know that doesn't come out as a revenue. And it didn't turn out like very badly for me, because we do kind of make music that is alike in a sense. I mean, it's not at all similar, but it doesn't hurt me, statically speaking, that, she is someone that might be mistaken for, Got you, mistaken for me. She is a Brazilian singer. It's really funny. So that's I think very enlightening in terms of how much I should be more aware of how things go. I also understand that the fact that I started being streamed on Spotify broadened my audience like majorly. And I've been benefiting from that as well, because people that didn't know my music started knowing my music, and eventually it reverts into sales, not in a very expensive, a very broad manner, but in a significant manner for me, since they're able to listen to it, and some of them order music online. That's so we send them music online. And so I feel like the impact is still positive, although I'm not expecting to make any money from streaming. I am already benefiting from the fact that it has given me a broadened exposure, and I just have to figure out how to make use of that, like how to use that, as you said, like as a leverage for getting more gigs abroad and understanding my audience, and then pitching, because I've never pitched. So yeah, that's my experience with Spotify.
Yeah.
Actually, these days, talking so much about Spotify, I've kind of started understanding it as a radio, not as much as your record store or your place of culture. No, it's more everything put together there. Because on my experience, when I started listening to Spotify was incredible because, oh my God, I can listen to the discography of Radiohead or whatever. And it was amazing, but after a while, it started like me having to choose what to hear, and there was simply too many options. And the time I felt I most liked my experience listening to music was when I was limited to what I had, and I had to repeat it a lot of times. And I think that is where you really connect with music. So I think kind of a problem with this is not Spotify, it's the way people want to interact with music.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because obviously, I mean, we've heard about shorter attention spans, for example, which is a complicated thing, especially if you create more niche music. So I think we should change the idea, as you were saying, about Spotify being a revenue-generating platform, and change it into a social media platform, because that's what it is. So, like what has been said, it can be used, for example, by the artist to get more gigs, to even like sharing the Spotify link with promoters. Yeah, it's a good way of kind of using it as your business card, rather than obsessing over it or comparing how much streams you have with other people, because that's more destructive than, you know, productive. But yeah, I agree that with such a crowded marketplace, people can, you know, get overwhelmed. So yeah, so during this presentation, basically, I'll show you various ways how, as an artist or as a promoter, you can promote your artist in a sustainable way that doesn't get too exhausting, because, you know, my God, sometimes it gets a bit too much. Yeah, any other people want to share?
We actually have from the stream.
All right.
We have Sofia Marquez.
Okay.
Saying that the pros of streaming for me, it's giving me access to a wider audience.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few people that discovered my music on Spotify playlists, but also through Instagram ads.
Mm.
And the cons, it pays so poorly, and there's high pressure on constant and continuous release.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a bit of magic of making music.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sophia.
I completely agree with Sophia. So, anyone else? It's like a therapy session. Who wants to share their story?
So, I don't know if this is a con for everyone, but it's a con for me. Like, I like listening to music as albums and discovering music, you know, like, and I think what playlists have done is that it's like completely destroyed the concept of albums and records. And like, you're trying to, you know, an artist gives a lot of thought behind, let's put this together as a record. But I'm not sure if that's how people are consuming music anymore, because that's not how they're discovering it, especially on Spotify. They're discovering it like song by, like they're discovering one song. And whether that leads them to the whole album is, I'm not sure. It's very rare, you know.
I think it depends on how you use that.
Yeah.
For example, if you realize that, oh, the song is getting more popular for one reason or another, sorry. It's still early, guys. Yeah, it's like, if you use that to your advantage, like we talked about yesterday, and try to market that song as the focus track of your album, but then, you know, that leads people to your full album, for example. You create a funnel. That song is kind of like the gate that leads to the rest of the album. So you have to be a bit clever about it. But yeah, I do agree that playlists have obviously taken priority, and there's an added pressure to get on certain playlists, curatorial playlists or editorial playlists. But Yeah, it all depends on how you market that what's one song that you realize is more popular. And that can also be a case of, for example, using that one song, promoting that one song via ads, for example, to get people to your shows. Like some people go to shows just for their favorite song, basically. I've experienced that. For example, with my band, we have one song that got plays on quite a significant number of Spotify editorial playlists. And believe it or not, people come from different cities to hear that one freaking song. And at the point, we weren't playing that song because a lot of my band members are very, artistic and everything. And they're like, oh, but we moved on from that era. But then we were like, listen, if people want to hear that song, it's like, you have to play it. It's kind of like Radiohead and Creep. They don't play it anymore. But they can afford to do that because they're very popular now. But with emerging artists like us over here, it's kind of very important to sometimes give the audience a bit of what they want. And so that serves as a gateway, to selling your album, selling your merch. And yeah, it's all about that nowadays. If anyone else has any, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, there's this band called Avenged Sevenfold. They just released a new album. And when I've heard their first single, I hated it. But I said, you know what, I'm gonna give them a chance and I'm going to listen to the full album.
Yeah.
And when I start listening to the full album, that single made sense. And I'm starting to not love it yet, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
So it's hard for us as artists because we are known by, as Abby mentioned, per song. But maybe that song is awesome only in the context of the full album. So it's really hard for us as artists to make people listen to the full package.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think it requires a lot of brainstorming and thinking how you can make that one song into like a gateway to the other songs. Obviously, bigger artists have the budget to, use that song, for example, on ads or whatever, or use that song in a movie. But yeah, that's why we're doing this presentation today, basically, to give you some ideas about how you can do that, how you can leverage, for example, that one song into more people listening to your stuff, as I wrote here. Using the music industry's digitization as your leverage. Nice one. So we're gonna talk a bit about branding. I know that you've heard a lot about it these past couple of days, but hopefully this bit of my presentation gives you a bit of a different perspective on branding. And I also have a bit of a task for you guys so that we implement this whole concept, this big concept, into something that you can use, basically.
Janelle, can I interrupt? We had a question also before from Sophia, who asked if you could also share the link.
Yeah, of course. So after when the presentation finishes, I've also got a resource and a toolkit kind of with all the links that I'm going to use during this presentation. And maybe you guys can also send the presentation over to everyone.
Perfect.
It's open for everyone who wants to have a read through.
What is a brand? The modern word brand is derived from an ancient word meaning to burn. A brand used to refer to a burning piece of wood. Later, a torch. And by the 1500s, a mark burned on cattle to show ownership. Individual ranches would each have their own mark. Simple, unique, and easy to identify quickly. Traits that are still common in today's brands. As competition grew, branding moved beyond just a physical cue to an emotional one. Establishing brand values by taking on the belief systems and reflecting the identities of the individual owners was a way to differentiate. Whether you're an artist, writer, producer, or all three, the competition is fierce. Defining yourself by your genre, your skills, or a moniker is not enough to set you apart. What would a musical brand be without the emotions that it triggers? To stand out, you must explore and cultivate a deeper connection through the development of your brand identity. This is your access to building a strong, creative brand, one that truly resonates with others, and just as importantly, one that brings you clarity and direction.
So let's start from kind of the academic side of what branding is. So according to the dictionary, the branding of a product is the presentation of that product to the public. And it's a way that makes it easy for people to recognize or identify that particular product. So branding can include the overall message, image, values, ambitions, the music, lyrics, themes, your own personality as well, and it's what makes the artist unique and recognizable. You might have heard of the term that a lot of marketers and industry people use, USP, unique selling point. So yeah, as much as we hate seeing our art or our work as a product or something that you sell, you know, it is what it is. It's something that people consume. So like you have to think about what your unique selling point is, what makes you different from other people, what your own background is that makes you relatable to your audience, and things like that. So there's a difference between brand image and brand identity. So brand image is obviously, yeah, let's start with brand identity. Brand identity is all about, you know, what you look like, your social media, your logo, your aesthetic style, the colors that you use on your social media feed, the type of language that you use, yeah, the way that you want others to perceive you. While brand image is slightly different. It's the way that other people perceive you. And yeah, it's your reputation, the emotion that your music, you know, that you convey through your music, the impression that people have of you, and what their belief is about you and your music. So obviously the problem is when your consumers, your fans have a different brand image than your brand identity when they're not congruent. Or they don't even know that you exist in some cases. This is where social media and marketing tools can come in by establishing a brand identity that has a clear direction. You basically can influence the way that other people perceive you. And an excellent case study, whether you like her music or not, is Taylor Swift. She is a marketing genius, she and her team, because I can only imagine the number of people that work for her. But she managed to create this whole story around her, you know. Even if you don't listen to her music, you probably know that a lot of her earlier works revolve around her exes. So people automatically associate her with heartbreak, with love, and they may listen to her music when they're experiencing those emotions. So yeah, here's a little video about about the Taylor Swift brand.
You know her, you love her, and you've probably cried to her music during a breakup. Wait, it's not just us, right? She's dropped 4 award-winning albums during the pandemic, broken 2 Spotify records in a single day, and released a short film that received widespread critical acclaim. Take a seat and get ready, because we're unrolling the Taylor Swift brand. Much of the success of Billboard's Woman of the Decade, beyond cranking out jams, can be attributed to a well-planned marketing and brand building strategy, which has continued to evolve over the last 15 years. But since we don't have 15 years, we'll make do with just a few minutes. Here are 5 marketing strategies you can learn from Taylor Swift and apply directly to your brand. 1. Telling a good story. Taylor Swift continues to evolve as a storyteller through her music, sharing stories of love, heartbreaks, and friendship with catchy narratives that are relatable to her target audience continue to be a staple of her brand. With this in mind, make sure to tell a story that your target audience can relate to. people love good stories, whether it's in a song, a book, or your marketing efforts. This can help connect your brand to your customers and build a deeper relationship. 2. Recognize your top fans. One of the reasons why Taylor's fans love her so much is because she's a pro at nurturing her fan base. With examples like Taylorking, where she interacts with fans on social media, Secret Sessions, where she shares unreleased albums with fans and hangs out with them, or rewarding fans with clues and theories sprinkled throughout interviews, lyrics, and posts. With this in mind, it's important to remember that interacting with fans of your brand helps generate organic and word-of-mouth marketing. This is invaluable when it comes to creating conversation and giving fans a reason to stick by your side. 3. Stand for something bigger than yourself. Taylor makes her values clear, from championing gender equality, LGBTQ+ rights, and endorsing political candidates that align with her values. Taylor Swift has used her brand to invest in causes that she supports. For you, ask yourself what causes you care about as a brand, and then share those with your audience. Encourage them to take action and get involved as well. Making them feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves can help them connect with you on a deeper level. 4. Repurpose your evergreen content. Recent re-releases of her old albums, reimagining top hits live with new musical arrangements and guest performers, puts a new twist on classic fan favorite music. With this in mind, give a fresh coat of paint to your evergreen content. Take your top performing blogs and repurpose them into podcasts, ebooks, or infographics. Take a note from us on this one. This video actually stemmed from a blog post. 5. Grow constantly. Taylor embraces her eras. She's rocked a country era, a pop era, and a folk era, but she lets reinventing herself become part of her brand. We, as her audience, have come to expect reinvention from her. What you can do on your end is that if you're seeing new buying behavior, remember that it's okay to absorb that information and try new things with your brand. Audiences like to be surprised with something new, so really commit and see where it takes you. Whether or not Love Story was your middle school jam, there's no denying the far-reaching effect of the Taylor Swift brand and the success she has seen. Don't worry though. No need to craft breakup songs to rise the charts and come back stronger than a 90s trend. Instead, keep these key takeaways in mind to turn up the volume on your marketing strategy. Thanks for watching. You know her, you love.
We're getting Taylor Swift again. Yeah, so something that was mentioned in the video that Taylor Swift does very well is brand loyalty, which is the fandom. An important thing is to turn your fans into a community rather than, oh, they're just a number, you know. I don't know, 100 people follow me on Instagram, so they're just, 100 random people. Turning those 100 people into sales will make a significant impact on your pocket. So you should value your fans. In fact, personally, some of the artists that I follow that I really like and go to their shows, whatever, are those that, share relatable stuff on their stories, for example, and make me feel like I'm part of a community. I think the metal bands do that really well, for example. Like when you go to a metal concert, everyone is wearing that band's shirt. It's like you're part of a cult or something, And that's a really good way of seeing it. Like these people, they listen to their music because they not only connect with you, but they also have similar traits to each other. They might have a similar personality, similar things that they like. So if you think about your fans as people you would get along with in real life, that is a good start to create some sort of a community. And yeah, this is your core audience. That is your megaphone in the digital sphere. They're the ones that are, sharing your music with your friends, with their friends, sorry. With your friends as well, maybe, I don't know. So with their friends, sharing your stuff on their stories on Instagram. So you need to treat them really well, because they're obviously the ones that are buying your stuff. Again, I have another case study. I really like my case studies, if you noticed. Another industry that does fandom really well is the K-pop industry. whether again you like it or not, whether you like K-pop or not, it's a really good case study for marketing. Because what K-pop companies and artists do is that they treat their fans like royalty, basically. And BTS is a good example of this. If you have never heard of them, they're basically a boy band from South Korea that managed to get several #1 singles in the US. Thanks to their fans, basically, because these fans were buying, for example, not one thing, but they were buying all of their merch, all of their singles on different platforms, and they basically came together and managed to get this group from South Korea into the global charts. And yeah, this is another video that basically shows several things that a fan group or a fan community can achieve.
Boy band BTS have achieved unprecedented global success this year. 2 consecutive #1 albums on the Billboard charts, a sold-out world tour, and a historic stadium show at New York City's Citi Field with over 40,000 fans in attendance. But what makes BTS so special, and why have they accomplished what no other Korean artists have before? Their meteoric rise has often been attributed to their significant reach on social media, thanks in part to their extremely dedicated and organized fan base called ARMY. It's safe to say that ARMY are the most powerful fandom in the world, but they're also the most diverse. It's not uncommon to find fans of different genders, ethnicities, and ages at a BTS concert or fan meetup. And the thing that brings them together? Their complete devotion to 7 men from South Korea and their unique message. BTS made their debut in 2013 with the radical, socially conscious album, Too Cool for School. The lead single, No More Dream, was dedicated to all of the youngsters without dreams for their future, a theme they've revisited in songs like Dope and Paradise. But it was 2015's The Most Beautiful Moment in Life that solidified BTS as a voice for their generation, tackling taboos like anxiety, depression, and generational divides, subjects not often talked about in K-pop.
What BTS really try to say is, this is how we deal with our life. This is how we try to experience our joy and our hope. Like, they never tell us to do anything. It's never didactic. But by being open themselves, they invite us to do the same thing.
It's this willingness to open up about their feelings and hardships that brings fans closer to BTS, to the point where they feel like they know them. Streaming platforms like Korea's V Live give ARMY intimate access to the members as they do mundane things like eating and sitting in their hotel room after a performance.
방 난장판이라고요? 그럴 리가.
BTS also have several ongoing shows, like Run BTS and Bon Voyage, that invite fans to laugh along with them as they do random challenges and travel the globe. Better yet, every single episode is available to stream. And that's only a fraction of the content available at fans' fingertips, largely due to fan translators who translate this content from Korean to other languages for free on their own time.
I don't translate for BTS, they understand everything they're saying, but there are millions of fans out there who care about the message they have to deliver, but need translations for it. And hearing people respond back immediately through social media, you get a sense that you're doing something for community, and you're doing something for people to take a new step, to get a little bit more courage.
On Tumblr, the internet's go-to destination for fandom communities, BTS is currently the #1 artist tag.
When Tumblr combined our musical acts list and our K-pop list, BTS was still #1, but they were also bigger than Beyonce. They were bigger than Ariana Grande. They were bigger than all of these huge acts that you would think not being part of this community would blow them out of the water. I absolutely noticed BTS fans take what BTS has given them, all the wonderful things that they've brought into their lives, and kind of pay that forward.
First, it starts off thinking, what do the boys love? And what are the things we can do in their name? RM focused groups always go for nature projects, so you plant trees, you adopt turtles, you adopt koalas in their name, and it's always done in the name of BTS or ARMY. And One in an Army is a great example of that.
On the day of BTS's historic City Field concert, volunteers from One in an Army, a fan-driven global charity initiative, were collecting canned goods and blankets just across the street to give to local organizations City Harvest and Coalition for the Homeless.
We're doing this as a thank you to New York for being so hospitable to BTS and to the Army.
We are dedicated fans, we are loyal fans, but we also wanted to show that we are so goodwill in each Army. Once you get one person involved, it's like a chain reaction to everybody else.
Even if we only do a small thing, that can be a big thing for somebody else.
We want to make them proud. We do. We really do.
For ARMY, these simple acts of kindness bring them closer to BTS and to each other. Purple Ribbon Army, another fan-led initiative, was also outside Citi Field handing out purple ribbon wristbands. They serve as reminders to concertgoers to be respectful to their fellow armies. Purple is a significant color for BTS, inspired by member V's favorite phrase.
I purple you.
It started off as an airport project where we would use a ribbon to barricade the armies and other fans that wanted to see them so that the boys can travel through the airport without getting hurt, and it also ensured the safety of other army members as well.
At Citi Field, BTS fans from around the world came together to celebrate a group they say has changed their lives in a multitude of meaningful ways.
BTS has changed my life because I just met a bunch of random people online and now they're my closest friends. They give so much to us, they help empower us so much.
I started listening to BTS last summer and I was infatuated with the choreography. I just decided that I wanted to try the dance, and now like 2 years later, I'm obsessed with them. I'm a teenager and I struggle with a lot of emotional stuff, like personal problems. Music nowadays, it's cool, it's good, but there's nothing like BTS. It directly talks to a teenager. Depression, anxiety, social problems, all that I suffer with, I deal with. Every day at my high school, during lunch period or gym, I would go upstairs to this empty room and I would dance there for 45 minutes to an hour every single day.
To me, their music is everything. It came at a point in my life when I didn't know who I was as a person. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But to have these boys just come out and be like, hey, it's okay, you'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Just do you and do the best that you can was really, really great.
Through their music and philanthropy, BTS asked their fans to look inward, to take their message and reflect. To know that just because you don't love yourself today doesn't mean you can't love yourself tomorrow. In doing so, BTS aren't just breaking records, they're creating a movement.
Being part of such a big global family has been so empowering for me, just knowing that there are people that I call family that I don't even speak their language. Like, we speak through a translator, but we still consider each other family. We call each other family, To me, it represents the kind of world that I want to live in.
Oh God, okay. Yeah, so, any thoughts about that? Interested to hear what you guys think.
Oh, I thought you wanted to say. No, but perhaps you wanted to.
This is a confirmation how powerful music can be, and it crosses all boundaries. Every kind of people, it doesn't matter. So we need to keep that in mind.
Yeah, exactly.
But are we talking about music still? I don't want to be like, this is not music. No, it's just, is it the point that we are talking about? Because
I think it's a mixture. Obviously, the music can be a vehicle to create a community. And obviously, the fact the way, as the video showed you, the way they kind of market themselves enabled them to put a highlight on what their music's message is, basically, and through that a community was created. So I think something that you guys can take from it is obviously that's related to brand image and brand identity, is to really have a thing. We have a task later about the message that you want to convey to your audience, for example, and how you can turn that into a community. A community of, obviously this is an extreme example, but even if, 5 people come to your shows regularly, maybe ask them why they connect to your music, like what they like about your music. And that can lead you to, you know, to think of different ways that you can formalize this type of community so that they support you throughout your journey. I hope that clarifies things a little bit.
That's actually similar to our question also on the stream from Sofia Marquez, asking, but how can you create that community feel when you don't have many fans yet, or they're not very engaged?
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing is obviously, you know, to have a clear direction in terms of what your branding is. To basically, you know, really hone in on what your brand image is, what message what you want to convey to your audience. That way you get things right from the get-go, in terms of like making sure that everything is as cohesive as possible when you put yourself out there on social media, for example. And you start working on these things from the beginning. Because if you're putting out mixed messages out there, people are like, but what is this artist trying to represent? I'm really not connecting with their message because I don't know what they're saying. One day they're saying one thing, the next day they're saying another thing, for example. So I think branding can really be a vehicle to eventually create that community. I hope that clarifies the question a little bit. So, yeah, any more questions?
I just realized something important. This idea of what you want to convey being exactly what you sing or what you play or what the lyrics that you choose to use are like directly correlated doesn't have to be necessarily so. Because other than the music itself, when you have mediatic space, when you're doing interviews or when you're on stage, exactly. I realized that throughout the years, I was very shy about talking to people. I didn't want to talk to them because I thought music was higher than that. So that's the way I want to communicate is through the music that I do and not so much conveying my own thoughts about, you know, perceptions on. But then later on, I realized that people were eager to listen to what I had to say. More than I ever thought. I thought, what do I have to say that's more important than the music itself? And then I realized, well, you're the one on stage. You know, if it was someone else, it was probably different. So gaining awareness of the space that you're given while on stage, while on a show, while on an interview is very important because that's what we as an audience also perceive. I mean, when I'm listening to one of my favorite artists, I'm looking forward not only to the performance, the musical performance on its own, but also to what that specific artist feels and thinks and positions him or herself or his or she's self. And I feel the same way about the artists, like the writers that I read, the painters that I like, and all in general, all the people that I can relate to, is what they think. Not only what their art conveys, but what they themselves want to convey through their arts that is not explainable only through their art, or that can be contextualized if they speak about it, if they write about it, if they let me know about it. That is, I think, the domain where this branding is happening.
Yeah, exactly.
That can be leveraged.
Yeah, because branding obviously isn't only about the online stuff, it's also the offline stuff. If we take the concept of branding as we explored earlier, it's whether people believe that what you're saying is authentic or not. So there are also some artists whose branding is the mystique. They're like, oh, you know. But some audience members like that. Their fans love that. So you really have to think about how you're projecting yourself to your audience and be consistent with that branding. That way, you know, you're attracting the audience that can really relate to what you're saying or how you're projecting yourself, and that eventually leads to a community that you can leverage.
Yeah, I have an example which is quite the opposite of that. We talked about it, I believe, yesterday, which is a band called Sleep Token.
Okay.
It's a masked band. We don't know who they are.
Exactly.
You have a clue about the singer. The singer, his nickname is Vessel. All the other guys are 2, 3, and 4. They don't talk to each other during the live shows. They don't talk to the crowd. If they want to talk with the crowd, they use a computer with a synthetic voice to talk with the crowd. They don't do interviews. They only did, I believe, once in 2017, which is text-based interview. They have a huge fan base. And what fans feel is that they want to push the music up front instead of their beliefs as individuals. And they call concerts rituals. They call the crowd the congregation. They don't say buy our songs. They say obtain. They don't say listen to our songs. They say consume. So there's a whole branding, consistency, and tone of voice, which is crazy. Yeah.
So they're basically using so that's a great example of word of mouth.
For sure.
Like a great example of how the image they're projecting, this band is projecting.
They didn't speak a word.
Is attracting a certain kind of audience, because let's face it, not everyone.
Yeah, it's not mainstream.
Niche. Yeah. So it's really understanding what your audience are like. Maybe your audience are a bit, weird, and they like this kind of stuff. So you really have to, you cannot please everyone after all. So you really need to hone in on what that particular audience would like, and what type of audience your music attracts as well. You.
Maybe. Like, do you think a band like Gorillaz would exist nowadays? They exist still, but another one.
Actually, my bandmate is a good fan of, a big fan of Gorillaz, and I mean that's a bit of a difficult question to answer. For example, I recently read an article where ABBA's one of the ABBA guys, the band ABBA, he said that if we focus too much on algorithms, we're gonna lose the next Paul McCartney. And yes, I mean, every artist, every band exists in their own era, unfortunately. So that's a bit of a difficult question to answer, but I think with Gorillaz, the fact that they obviously focus on the animations, on that kind of visual, it attracts a certain kind of audience. So the people they attract are obsessed with that kind of stuff. So I think, the mystique works for some people. Obviously, with certain artists, if they have their labels pumping a lot of money, it's one thing. As an independent artist, it's a bit more difficult to keep that mystique. That's the reality of the situation. But if, for example, you want to also include that type of mystique and animation, like the animations and the visual, that kind of visual, you can maybe find a compromise nowadays. Especially, as I said, if you're not backed by a lot of money. That's the reality of a situation. But I think there is space for those kinds of niche, weird audiences, or weird bands to even go mainstream. For example, a good example is Sia. The artist Sia, she never showed her face. I don't know if you know who she is, like the chandelier. I'm gonna swing on the chandelier. That artist. She was a songwriter for 20 years, and and she used to show her face before. When she started hiding for her face, that's when she got people interested. So you never know. Sometimes the weirder things work better. That's a good way to link to the USP, unique selling point. Like this band that you mentioned, their unique selling point is the fact that they don't talk to anyone. Some people like that. There's a rule that's what's that internet thing? There's a rule about the internet that kind of, if you search even the weirdest stuff, you'll probably like find people that are into that. So literally, that's why you have to think about what makes your act unique or what makes your venue unique, for example. Because you'll be surprised, literally. When you start doing things a bit differently, that's when you get people interested. If you're copying someone else, there are a million other people doing, for example, I don't know, the same thing. But if you're truly authentic to what you are, you use your full creativity to create this persona. I think you discussed the persona thing with Amber yesterday. It can lead to a lot of wonderful things, and that's when you're attracting this community. Like going back to the BTS example, because you asked me how this relates to branding. I'm very interested in the K-pop industry because of the marketing aspect. And how they got people hooked in is the fact that they started to talk about social issues, like depression, anxiety, suicide, for example, things that are not talked about in Korean society at all. And at first it was kind of a shock value. In fact, it took them like 15 years to become as popular as they are today. Sometimes that shock value works. When you start talking about things that other people are hiding, that's when you get, your people are like, oh yeah, I'm feeling this, then I'm really relating to that band, for example. Or, yeah, so there are a lot of artists that have used that to their advantage. I hope this clarifies things a little bit, because I know that obviously it's a very, we can keep discussing this. It's, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I was thinking about the examples that we usually think about when communicating is bands and artists who have vocals. And what if your music is instrumental, you know? And I know that you can still communicate an image and a vibe, but I think sometimes it gets to, you can't talk about specific issues through instrumental music is something, or I don't know if you can, but.
I think instrumental music is more about emotions and feelings that are conveyed through the music.
Yeah, and then the people perceive it themselves like.
Yeah, exactly, it's open to interpretation. But again, there's a specific type of people that are listening to that kind of music. Maybe more introspective people that, you know, like reflecting about things. That's a specific type of audience. So I think there is still a way to create a community. It can be something as simple as creating, I don't know, a Facebook group and you invite the people that, you know, are listening to your music, and you share like even a simple question on your stories, like share like give me one word about like what this particular piece means to you, and you start seeing people sharing what they're feeling when they're listening to a particular song. That's still a type of online community that you can leverage. Again, yeah, someone has a question over there, or? Oh yeah, all right. I don't know if that answers your question. That was a good suggestion. Yeah, that's, or for example, WhatsApp recently introduced communities. I don't know if any of you use WhatsApp. I mean, probably all of you use WhatsApp. So WhatsApp recently introduced communities where you can basically share a link with your fans, especially if you're a smaller artist, because if you're a big artist, you don't want people knowing what your mobile phone number is. So yeah, if you're a smaller artist, you know, that has a local following maybe, yeah, you invite people to join this WhatsApp group, and they can share, I don't know, you can share other music with them, people that inspire you maybe to create that type of electronic or ambient music. And they can share personal stories when they first heard your song, for example. Maybe they were going through a rough time and this song came up on Spotify and they related to it in some way or another. So I think, yeah, you can really use these technologies to your advantage. Because when we think about community, we may think about like the BTS situation, people, you know, crazy fangirls, like obsessing about their artists and doing all sorts of things. But it can really start from 5 people on this WhatsApp community. And then they can invite their friends and, you know, keeps going on and on. Another good example, I don't know if you're aware of the band Idols. If any of you have heard of, yeah. So I actually know the guy who created their community on Facebook. So Idols have their music talks about mental health, addiction to drugs and how the main guy got over it basically, and alcoholism and stuff like that. And yeah, basically this Facebook group started from 20 people. And yeah, they all started sharing about their issue with alcoholism, for example, and stuff like that, and how this band's music helped them get through it. It now has more than 40,000 members talking about this stuff. It's like a therapy group, basically. And the amount of personal stories that I read on this freaking group, like people literally, sometimes they don't have anyone to talk to. So they find solace in this online community to share, you know, their troubles, their issues. So yeah, it can literally start from 20 people. And I'm telling you this story because I literally know the guy who started this Facebook group that now has more than 40,000 fans, sharing deeply personal stuff, like you see people going through divorce, like having issues in their relationships, and they share this openly. So it's amazing how much, you know, music and the rights, like branding, because obviously they branded themselves well. Because, for example, Joe, the singer, he went around the UK doing Q&A sessions talking about his alcoholism problems. And being open and authentic about those issues led to this whole community. So yeah, it can be an amazing thing. I don't know if someone was going to say something.
I'm thinking about something. It's I saw that this all Korea example. I heard about them also, that the biggest thing in the world now, and I also saw like avatars, artists that they are not real persons, you know, doing things, and they have a crown for that, and this remembered like a band in Brazil, Los Hermanos. It's the brothers in Spanish, but it's Brazilian band, Los Hermanos. That
yeah, I've heard of that.
They exploded one hit in 1990. They exploded one hit and was the sensation of Brazil in that time. And then the next year, the industry that was the before industry was pressed then to hit another
target,
another song, and all that. But they don't want. They don't want to keep in their direction, no? And they broke all with that and describe it, create some music and lyrics about that, and they started to do that. We are talking now that they create the community and take the email of the peoples, you know, and they start to do like underground stuff, you know, like the basic fun. If the email, you have the email. They start to come in a city like far away. They have fun there, and all the market was saying then. And so what is happening? What they are doing? Like how they are not in the TVs and all the. This was before social media and all that. And how they have a lot of fans in all the Brazil, that is a huge country, and around. And my question is that you know, they was in a moment that it was changed, the internet and all that. And my question is in that direction, the Web3 that you was talking, what you are seeing, that new directions and new ways to do that, crowns and all that, or you are just thinking in the same house as the pop, K-pop is doing. This is the main thing now, but what's the new horizons of that?
Yeah, I mean, with Web3, this conversation is going everywhere. Yeah, I think with where the internet is going, there's more space for community now, online communities, especially because most of us spend our time online. And as I was telling you with these people of the Idols fan group, they literally share personal stuff online. So I think there's a great opportunity to create an online, a very strong online community that, you know, since the internet is becoming even stronger now, you know, you can stay online for years and years, basically. Some people, for example, have used Discord, which is, I don't know if you've heard of Discord. It started with gamers. And it's basically like Facebook groups, but it's in a more kind of intimate way. It's an app that you can download, basically. So a lot of people are using Discord now. Artists are using Discord as a way to create a virtual community that's separate from Facebook or Instagram, from Meta, from the company, basically, from that company. So it's something that you can explore. But again, it depends on the type of audience that you have. If you have an older audience, they'll be like, what the fuck is this? You know, literally. If you have a younger audience, it might be a good idea to explore that. You mentioned ambient music, Abby. People who listen to ambient music, there was a study that people who listen to electronic music, a lot of them tend to be gamers. For example, there was a study about this. They listen to this music while they're playing games. So Discord can be a good idea because they're already using Discord to chat with with other gamer friends around the country. So why not use that, you know, for your own community if they're already on it? So again, it depends on your type of audience, but Discord is a good tool. And with Amplify, we're also creating our own app, basically, a community app. It should be coming later on this year. Yeah, and it's a simplified way on how you can create a community, reward fans, market your stuff all on the same platform, basically. So that's something that we're also thinking about because it's becoming a huge thing, this community thing. As streaming platforms become more diversified, you really need to hone in on those fans that are really invested in you rather than focusing on the millions of others that aren't. So making sure that you're really taking care of your core audience, rewarding them and, you know, basically treating them really well will help you have a long-term career.
I wanted to ask about how you feel with Discord and Amplify, because you have a active engagement around there, and it's really wonderful. And also, we've been thinking of introducing Discord more for here. But as you say, it's a specific kind of group of people who go there, and I think the challenge would be how do you
make people join Discord
if they're not normally on there?
I had this discussion with a couple of other artists recently, and I think with WhatsApp communities, it's a really good alternative to Discord. They recently introduced it, and I was gonna test it for my own band, basically, because a lot of our audience are like 25 plus, basically. We tend to attract existentialists. That's our music, apparently. So WhatsApp communities would be a good way, since most people are already on WhatsApp anyway. So it's a good way of, even if you're not an artist, for example, if you're a venue, you take care of a venue, you can create a WhatsApp community with the regulars, basically. And you can share your events directly, because on social media sometimes things get lost. So it's a really good way of making sure that those people are getting your message, literally, on their phone. They receive a notification every time you send a message on the WhatsApp group. And it's also a way for people, for example, to say, hey, I'm attending that event. Is anyone else attending it, so that I won't go alone, for example? It's a really good way of creating a two-way communication channel. I think that might work for here, for example, a WhatsApp community group. I really suggest it because it's a really good initiative. Does anyone else have any questions?
Maybe coffee break?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize that it's. Yeah.
A bit of time after.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I prepared more than we can cover, I think, but it's good that we're having this discussion. So 15 minutes. Yeah. Nice. Yes, Janelle, like the window apparently. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it. Cool. Welcome back to another episode. Because it's like with the camera. It's like I'm a YouTuber. Yeah, so welcome back. Yeah, so since we're talking about branding and community and all of that, thank you for participating, by the way, because I wasn't sure if people would get into it or not. But it's really interesting to hear your stories. We're going to have a task, but I want to touch on one last thing before we do that. It's about custom domains, which can seem like a simple thing, but in reality it isn't, like most things in marketing. So a custom domain is obviously like the .com. So it's basically registering your own artist's name as a .com or a .pt or whatever. And the subdomain is an extended part of the domain name. So in the case of if you create an Amplify link page, it would be hosted by Amplify, but it would still have your artist's name in it. So I use this example, like found this on a artist name generator, Ken Liquor, with it like. So yeah, in that case, if you have a custom domain, it would be kenliquor.com. If it's an Amplify link, if it's a subdomain, it would be kenliquor.ampl.ink. And yeah, you'll probably be asking me, why is this important? Because this is tech. We had our web developer over here, so he might know more about the tech side of it. Basically, custom domains are important because of the fact that, again, it extends to, it's all about the branding aspect. So it makes it easier for your fans to find you. If you're using a different handle on Instagram, for example, and then having a different handle, the whatever, having a different name on Spotify, and if you have a different name on Twitter, you have a different website name, people will get confused. So it's very important that you use your custom domain, your website, as kind of the centralized space where people can find you as your CV, for example, like you're applying for a job. And you use that same name across all platforms. I think the worst thing that artists can do is to use a million different things for different platforms, because that will confuse audiences. And people nowadays, they don't have a lot of time. So if they discover your song on Spotify, for example, and they can't find you with that same name on Instagram, or they can't find a website that's with that same name, Again, it extends making things easier for the consumer, for the music fan to find you, to buy tickets, to, get your merch out there. So that's how custom domains come in. And we have a task. Ta-da! So, I mean, you can either do this in groups or separately, whatever you prefer, maybe in groups of 2, so that you can bounce ideas off each other. So the first part of the task is to brainstorm what all of this, how this relates to your own brand, whether you're a venue, promoter, an artist, a community owner, or a communications manager like Fatma over here. Think about what your brand stands for, the principles and the values that you want to convey to your fans. You can also include important personal stories, like the one I mentioned about idols that they use. The singer's past as an alcoholic. It sells, apparently. And important social issues that you want to highlight, etc. Think about your brand image as well. What colors, fonts, photo style, etc. represent your brand? And then I don't know if you guys have access to a laptop. At least we can get a laptop between 2, maybe. Yeah, so I would like you to show all of this via the Amplify artist page, which I'll show you in a bit. And as I said, with the custom domain thing, the Amplify artist page, if you don't want to invest in a website, it's a good alternative, because you can have everything on there. You can have all the links to your social media, to your music videos, etc. And it's a free way, basically, without having to pay for a domain, to get your stuff out there, while still keeping that name, that brand intact. So I'm gonna show you how to set it up real quickly. Yeah, so I'm using something that I had created for the band a couple of years ago, basically. Bit of self-promotion, Jan the band.
That's the name of
Yeah, it's GENN, if anyone wants to follow us. Anyway. Yes. So we go to amplify.link, log in. In this case, I'm already logged in. Just because of security purposes, I don't want to write the password. And yeah, this comes up. Basically, you create you write down what your name is, what your artist's name is, etc. Then you go to create link. Oh God, you are not logged in. I have to log in, sorry. Oh no. Yeah. Create link. Choose a link type, in this case, a bio link, that's what it's called. And in this case, we already have one. For example, our last music video, live dates and tickets, mailing list, official website, and some things we kind of believe in, like abortion resources. Anti-racism resources and stuff like that. So what I mentioned about the social issues part. Yeah, and as you can see, there's a focus on red. We have our artist, like a press photo, and red is something that we use across all music videos and across social media. It's one of the main colors, basically. So yeah, this is a good example of what you can do, basically. You can paste links over here, over there. You can also add merge if you want, which is a good way how to keep things centralized. And yeah, you can change the theme, the background image, colors, a bit of a biography about yourself, website link, basically everything. You can also add a donation link, which is good, to get some donations from your fans, as well as an email capture, like if you want to connect this to your mailing list, for example. So yeah, I think this is a good start. I don't know how much time we have, but I was envisioning like between the discussion, brand identity, and this, it would take around 45 minutes. Yeah, so pair up with someone who has a laptop. And if you have any questions, yeah, I would, yeah, if you can write everything down in terms of the brand identity, that would be helpful for you and for us to discuss. If you have any questions, let me know.
Should we be in 2 or 3?
Whatever, depending on how many laptops there are around, basically. I'm gonna keep this up here, just in case you need any inspiration.
Wander aimless, just getting to know you city. Past traveled Spanish strangers, control group fitted professionals, backpacks, fanny packs, Big Macs. Pop-up workshop, beacon cafe, roll suitcase over cobblestone to taxi romantic. Last night's boho hotel mod pattern floor, broken shower, beach towel, ashtray. Ancient tile exterior, postcard flats, spotlight now, continental Pasua fringe, old-timers, street hustles, fake weed, no-go, ixnay, I've been here before. Peacock and trench coat, tennis shoes, great mass of curious humanity, 3-starch lunch, hold the pig feet, chopsticks, night trips, cigarettes. Beautiful women, walking average men, laughing people, slow apocalypse, still mad ones under cafe fluorescent, lipstick, hot
About the
lips,
brand
cluster
image,
chips.
identity colors, you know, all that conceptual
last
stuff.
cheap, exotic boho
And then
scene,
going on
Europe
with the
West, where from here
website.
like new age of discovery, young urban.
If you have any questions, I'll go around. And
The way I'm thinking about it is like writing a film. It's like this weird ass fucking record that's like not this song after song after song with a break in the middle of the song. Super like psychedelic and tripped out. I want that, you know. But, I mean, that being said, Jesus.
an artist. And yeah, this is basically where you'll be adding your website, link to your profiles. Look, edit, setup. Look, I added all the links here. Email capture, like if you have a mailing list, etc., etc.
One question: would you be able to do this not only as an independent artist, but like
as a label? Yes. So recently we launched something where basically if you contact us, we can give you access to multiple artist pages. You can add multiple artist pages, and there's a small fee. And yeah, basically you can do that. Because I'll be showing you later, you can also do distribution through this. So we're trying to turn it a bit into an art label services. That's the plan.
Great.
So, yeah.
And everybody who is here get discount to the pro feature.
Yes.
And I've sent you all emails, but
Yes.
I'll send you again.
Nice.
You have a 30-day free trial as well, and a discount. So that will give you access to more stuff.
Exorcizar também, não é? Fazer disso também branching para ou teres um blog que fala sobre isso, não é? Ou falar abertamente sobre isso.
Some days are ecstasy, dreams and synchronicity, electricity. Electricity. I've seen sunny days and rainy days, and dark days and brighter days. Maybe every day is a better way to be. But still, some days are ecstasy, dreams and synchronicity. Electricity. Electricity.
electricity. Electricity.
Yes,
Feature?
it's
Or it's a freebie?
let me show you.
Feature.
So for now it's free because you've got the trial.
Okay.
But I think it's one of the paid features now.
Yeah. I mean, because as we were doing it, it doesn't show up as your name doesn't show up on the URL.
It's basically ampli.inc and a bunch of letters.
Yeah, not your name.
Not my.
Your name?
Or
you're trying it out?
Yeah.
Did you sign up before or something?
No, I don't think so. This is my first time.
Okay, let me show you. Okay, wait, you have to access it. Let me show you how to access it. Give me a second because I didn't show you that. Sorry about that. So let me log in. Yeah, so you go to artists.
Okay. You click on the artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Domains.
Let me see.
Scroll down.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It's under setup.
Oh, you create a subdomain.
Create a subdomain.
Got it.
Ah.
Okay.
And if you have a domain already, if you bought a domain, you can also set it up.
Okay.
This is the tipping feature that I mentioned at the donation. So you can also connect to your PayPal, for example.
Yeah.
People can donate.
So one question, you were saying that this is a mix of
Patreon and Bandcamp.
and
Yeah, that's
Bandcamp.
what's coming up. We have another feature
okay.
coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got.
You'll be able to do Patreon stuff there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's coming up in a couple of months, I believe.
All right.
So if you sign up from now, you get access to those features when they come up.
I'm gonna take my time to do it properly.
Yeah,
so
definitely,
we're
definitely,
doing
yeah.
One account now and then I'll.
Perfect.
But I'm really.
Yeah, it's got a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah,
I
I'm really
discovered
excited
it
about
through my own music stuff, and then I started working with them. So.
Cool.
And Janelle, you think at some point you could make us like a kind of tour through the platform?
Yes, of
showing
course.
these,
Yes,
like,
of course.
what is-
Yeah,
what is
yeah,
about
yeah.
how you use it.
We're learning.
Would you prefer if I do it now or after you've finished your branding bit? I can do it now so that you start adding stuff if you want. Cool. So yeah, this is the dashboard over here. You all get a free 30 days. There is a free version, by the way. So if you only want the simple stuff, you can stay on the free version. The pro version is really good for those that have small labels or for promoters and stuff like that. Or if you're a manager, or if you just want a lot of stuff to include a lot of stuff. So yeah, so there's the bio link, which is the artist page. You can also do link to your releases as well. So that's a separate thing. Pre-saved, a pre-save link. We've all heard about the pre-saves. You can also live stream.
I don't know what the pre-save link is.
Okay, I think it's in the so a pre-save link is basically how can I explain it? It's a link that you share with your followers when you're about to drop a single, for example. So they can click on this and it leads them to Spotify and they can save it in the library before it's out.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So I'm trying to think if I can show you this with someone, basically. But yeah, basically, okay, let's create one, just so that you, yeah. So you can choose a link or a file to unlock. In this case, I don't know. I can select a file of a song, one of our songs, maybe, whatever. Since they're saved anyway. Okay, it's loading. Sorry, I chose a fucking long song. God, why do I do this to myself? Let me go back and choose a link, because this will take a long time. Sorry about that. Okay, so create link, let's go and do it again. Pre-save. When is the release date? So if you're releasing a track, I don't know, on the 15th. Yeah, paste the URI of the track and or album scheduled for release. So in this case, whenever you have a distributor, which we're talking about a bit later, you get a URI for the song that you're about to release for every platform. So if you're the distribution with Amplify, for example, you get this, you just paste this here, release services. On release day, your pre-save link will be converted to a normal release page. So you can just copy and paste that whenever you want to share it with people, basically. The good thing about pre-saves is that obviously you end up getting more listeners because people have it saved in their library already. And it's also, the song shows up on the algorithmically generated playlist that everyone has. Let me show you why. So I think demonstrating is a good way of...
Pre-save was not like that before.
It wasn't, yeah. And the thing is that, for example, if you have a good amount of pre-saves, there's a bigger chance that you land a spot on the Spotify official playlists. That's how they made it. So I was listening to a podcast over here. So I don't know. Where are the algorithmically generated playlists? Over here. Look, Release Radar, Daily Mix. These are obviously the Spotify playlists.
It goes in all of them, Release Radar and Daily Mixes?
So, yeah, it can go to your daily, of the people that pre-saved your link. So it obviously increases the chances of, people discovering your stuff organically. I mean, it's a good way of ensuring that at least, you get a head start with your release. So this is a really good way of ensuring that, because, I don't know, a week about your release, before your release, you can announce it and tell people to pre-save that song, basically, and you just post this link. So next. Yeah, and you can customize it, basically. Pre-add-on. And then you just share the link to your followers, and yeah, they can basically add the song before it's out. So that's it. The live stream, which is similar. The unlock page, which we're talking about later on. The event page, which is really good for promoters, venue owners, and if you're creating your own, event or festival. So you have the ability to create your event page. To create another link. Yeah. So, create event page. What kind of event you're promoting. Now you choose a date. You can also create a multi-day event page if you're, for example, going on tour or you're organizing a multi-day festival. In this case, I'm just leaving it simple, like for a gig, for example. Tickets, link to your ticket provider, and customize it according to your branding. And you get a countdown as well so that people, What else? That. We've got distribution, which I'm showing you a bit later. Roadmap, so basically this is what we're working on at the moment. This is the fan club thing I mentioned, the Patreon / Bandcamp thing. Yeah, so as you can see, there are a lot of things that you can do. There is Amplify You, which is our guides and our community aspect. Other features, you can get the list of features if you're a promoter, a label. Yeah, so you can also ask for support through Discord. Yeah. So we have our community on Discord that you can reach out to, as well as the rest of the team. So if you have an issue, you can just message them on there, or you can send us an email if it's simpler. But yeah, I think that's like a quick overview of the platform. As I said, we have got a bunch of other stuff coming up. So yeah, if you sign up with us, basically you get early access to this fan club that we mentioned. That's going to be really cool. We've also got a merch store. You can create your own merch store on Amplify. That's coming up as well. So yeah, it's a work in progress. We've got a lot of stuff coming up. So yeah, and yeah, the presentation. I'm not sure if you guys are finished or if you need a bit more time. Maybe 15 minutes. You can. Don't forget to write the brand identity thing as well, because that's going to be helpful. The values, the image, and that kind of thing.
Will this presentation be available? So that
Yeah. I'm going to send it to the team so that they forward it to all of you. Yeah. Do you have access?
Just a reminder, if you have any questions, use the microphone.
Oh, yeah, feel free to ask away.
It was under art, yeah.
Yes.
And it was under artists or under dashboard where you could add the values in this?
So you click on, let me show you again, don't worry.
Thanks.
So let me log in again, because for some reason I logged myself out. So you go to this bit over here, and artists. And this is where you click on the artist, and you can add your profile photo, link to your website, social profiles, etc.
And on your artist, on your band page, there were the links for your social values.
Okay, all right, yeah. So then you go to create after you finish this, basically.
Yeah.
You click on create link, bio link.
Okay.
And this is where it comes up.
I see.
Okay. So yeah, to create the bio link, you have to click on create link and create bio link. But I suggest filling out that information from beforehand, as the layout would be a lot easier to navigate. I'll leave this here if you want. Yes.
I'll have to show you this today. So
yes.
I've done this, but like I think I used Amplify in the past once.
You used it.
So this all like is.
Yeah. But you've used it in the past, so you kind of know.
I know. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
How is this? I mean, just for mine.
Of course.
How is this compared to Linktree?
Yeah, I know what you mean. This has more features.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I used to use Linktree before. Then I discovered Amplify, then I started working.
Using this.
Basically, since we're introducing the fan clubs, the live stream, the other stuff, it's kind of, and you can also distribute through Amplify, which is different than.
Also, when you if I let's say upgrade to a pro plan, then it lets me customize all of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because right now it's like a little.
You can choose the thing and stuff.
Yeah, I did that, but.
Some days are ecstasy, dreams and synchronicity, electricity. Electricity. I've seen sunny days and rainy days, and dark days and brighter days. Maybe every day is a better way to be. But still, some days are ecstasy, dreams and synchronicity. Electricity. Electricity. These days I like wandering through the city streets and listening. It's the little things that seem to sing to me. But still, some days are ecstasy, dreams and synchronicity. Electricity. Electricity. Electricity.
U.S. surgical bombing. The strategic strike.
Targets of opportunity.
Target of opportunity.
A target of opportunity.
Iraqi leadership decapitated.
Decapitation. Decapitate.
Bombing on the scale that will shock and awe. Shock and awe.
Shock and awe.
Shock and awe.
If you have to ask, is this shock and awe, you're not seeing it. Because when it happens, it will be absolutely, positively, no doubt.
This record has been scientifically researched. The key, rhythm combinations, and tonality are designed specifically for the enjoyment of your dog.
But what was normal? Mark MacDonald is program director at station WAMU in
در مقابل سفارت بریتانیا.
20 people calling.
Prácticas que sin embargo no se contemplan para infligir daños masivos porque los gérmenes.
Oh, I know. We came from the because everything was closing in the hotel. They said, "Let's go. You have to go." But it was yeah. But it was okay because we had arranged with Google to come here. So it was booked, so it was okay. But it was funny. It was a funny feeling, like, oh, okay, you have to go. Oh, okay. And it was because then it was changing with. It was really all changing at that time.
And we've witnessed that as a nation. I mean, we have.
Yeah, you basically need to click on that. Oh yeah, let me finish. This is not my main. I just created it. Click on finish. Tata, view page.
What if I'm not in that page? I'm already in my artist page. I'm building up my socials.
Copy URL.
Yeah, but how do I access to my URL? Because.
Oh, okay. So where are you? Let me come
I'm
in.
on this page.
All right. Let me come over and check.
I'm
Yes.
here. I have my.
All right. Okay.
So where
click
do
on
I go
it.
to see?
All right. So scroll up.
Oh, sorry, scrolling through.
View links.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This one.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can
But
just click
it's
on
not,
it.
because I already have a custom. But it's
All
not.
right. It's not showing up. So you didn't save it probably. Okay. So yeah. Perfect.
Social link like this.
Increment. Domains.
It's already here.
All right. Okay. Okay. Cool. It's already there. So let me show you something else. So go to this is the view links.
Okay.
Edit.
Okay, edit.
Scroll down. Website link, I believe. Yeah, domain.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you can
Do I need it?
or I don't know, bio link for example.
But it was this interface I was showing you to Instagram.
Because you can create multiple pages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So then I can.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Oh, you're in a band.
I already had one.
It's
only
cool.
Me.
Is it a metal band? It looks
No,
like
it's not. It's a rock band.
Okay, yeah, that's it. I'll look at that. Self-performing.
I'm the only one.
The video was artist that is
What?
playing tomorrow
Yeah.
at the party.
Awesome, wow, that's cool. It's so
I'm
clever.
the only one making music.
Wow, you're like so different.
I was checking
Different hairstyles.
Yeah, I did a session
Everything.
at home, yeah, and I tried to envision different poses, different expressions. I think it's the drummer, the piano player, the
Yeah,
singer,
exactly.
the bass player, and the conductor, the master. So
Sorry,
I
I
have
like
drums,
both.
bass, piano, voice, and music. So it's
Oh my god.
Basically,
Did you edit though or something?
just minor stuff. Minor stuff. I had to prepare my bird so I can shave it
Yeah,
between the
exactly.
shots. Yeah.
That's all. This is the pianist.
Yeah.
This is like the guitarist or big
Bass player,
drummer.
yeah, tough guy.
Landscape filtered through car window, through screen, through fear, through temporary concrete. Temporary structures, temporary lenses, temporary illusions of temporary landscape. Lola in the spacesuits in the shape of a womb, a wrestler's cartoon mouth and non-functional tool, non-functional concrete, non-functional future, non-functional landscape. Temporary artifacts. There are vultures in Tibet. Destroy the Lamborghini. say you have an outline.
To go first. Don't be shy.
So my project is called Self Atomica, and it's mostly autobiographic themes around painful experiences and moments. I'm not an observer on those songs. I'm always an actor. And I talk about personal feelings like loss, despair, anxiety, everything I've been through, and also breakups. And the funny thing is that I released my album 2 days after a breakup, which is kind of funny right now. It wasn't at all at that time. So basically, in the album, it's called Push Through the Pain. And I mainly use dark shades and red as an accent color because it's connected to blood and war, and it reinforces the struggle vibe of the project in the album in this case. So yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And if you were to create a community, what do you think the
mental
would
issues, for example, because I struggle with anxiety for a long time, and I'm very open about it. So yeah, I will probably go there and talk to connect with those kind of people. I've been doing that through my music. Some people have already talked with me saying, look, I felt the same. I really felt you when you sing that specific part or whatever.
Exactly.
So yeah, that might be a channel I need to explore a bit more.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's kind of the thing that you can
for sure,
connect people
you
with. Okay, perfect. Nice one. Next.
No, I mean, the only thing I have to say is I still have to work out my brand identity. It's just opened my mind for... we were discussing it. It was very enlightening for me as well, which is since I do a lot of different genres and a lot of different initiatives within the music realm, I have to figure out how to brand myself, because I feel that some of them are really not touching each other, and there's no apparent overlap of audience, or not necessarily, and that I might not be intelligent of me if I choose to put them all in one, like just one artist link. Because some people like the jazz community, or the more experimental stuff that I do doesn't relate at all to the stuff that I do in folk music, and so I just really have to figure this out. This is very interesting for me to explore. But
I think you can go about it in two ways. You can either create the brand about yourself, and you have all these different dimensions. But that's a bit of an influencer mentality. I mean, you can do it, it's just like you're doing all of this different stuff. Check out all these bits that I'm doing. But I think for your audience, creating different artist pages and different branding all of this different stuff that you do, branding the labels separately, branding the feminist festival I think that's the way to go about it, but that's gonna be a lot of work. Yes. But if you do it right, it diversifies your income stream as well, and diversifies your audience, because then they can, discover each other by time. So,
thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, but
a lot of work, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Next.
So, in terms of brand for my music project, because we're a duo, and because we started, even though we met in person first time, we started doing music in the pandemic, and we live in different cities. So the whole project was always a lot about kind of internet connections and impersonal connections, and then kind of organically, it also started becoming, and I'm also realizing this more in the past few days with the other discussions. It's becoming a lot about contrasts, because we're two people, and each of us has their own way of seeing the project and the stuff they want to explore with the project. And then we also work in two very contrasting moods. Our music, it's either very calm or very chaotic. So I guess that could be a nice entry point to explore in terms of creating sort of a core brand for the project. Like visually, I think because of that sort of duality as well, we have been exploring kind of two main. In terms, speaking in terms of colors, I guess there's two main sort of ways to go about it. We both go for very earthy and human colors like brown and fire and stuff like that. But then on top of it, because we do electronic music and we also kind of discuss techno dystopias, I guess. There's also another layer of very bright digital colors. And in terms of a community, I think maybe what would probably make the most sense for us would be exploring kind of DIY communities or people with interests in DIY, because we're bedroom producers and we're also into kind of, we're building our own, the things we're using in live shows are built by ourselves.
Okay, cool.
It's not that, it sounds interesting when I say it like this. So yeah, I guess that could be a nice unifying sort of theme for a community, maybe.
Yeah, I like the duality thing. Even you can find two complementing colors.
Yeah.
And what you mentioned about the DIY aspect, I think you'll find a lot of those communities that you can join on Reddit.
Yeah.
It's also, and then you can use it to promote your stuff, and Discord as well. Especially if, I don't know if you meant like building synthesizers and pedals and stuff like that.
That's definitely
the
something
idea.
we're interested
but
in.
There is a very big subculture
Sure.
that you can tap into and promote your music as well.
Yeah.
So Reddit.
Yeah, because like you don't have to always create the community from
Exactly,
scratch,
you can
right?
join a community and then you start getting people from that community to maybe join yours one day as well.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Didn't think so much about the brainstorm, was get stuck in the platform. But yes, about I have some things here. Yes, what I think about the brand is what you are playing. It's related with the Amazon issues for the world, like the global change and all that, and I think it's related with that, like the awareness of how the force is important for everyone, and think about that, And you are a group of people that it's not in Brazil, it's not there directly, but it's related here, and see what's the technology, all the things that it's running on the world, and how to relate this, like with music and all that. And I think our communities must be related with that, climate and politics for the indigenous peoples, and also a bit in the direction of technology, because people are trying to just kill the forest, but they are not see that the technology, they are kill a lot of technology and answers for the world, at the same time.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
value is not in the gold, it's in the culture, and I think this is like a discover new technologies through the music. Like if people that are also connected with technology and also, and I think the communities it's related also with the forest and also technology. Like as we play and we show, it's more like that in that direction. The colors may like red and green, something that is related for the indigenous representation. And it's very important this for me and for for us. Yes, I put here
Bless you.
the fonts of the letters, are a bit raw and indigenous. I didn't find the exact one, but I have some reference to that. Yes,
yeah, that's perfect. Like you can also kind of, if we're talking about communities, maybe contact, I don't know, an NGO or a community, another community that is working on environmental issues. And I don't know, you can connect your music to their cause. That way the people following them can also listen to your stuff, So you can connect the two, kind of the environmental advocacy that you're mentioning with your music.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
I was just still like writing my bio.
Oh, no problem.
Are we supposed to share the link?
No, I mean, just for you, basically, it's more of an exercise. But if you want to share the link with each other, because I mean, it's a bit difficult to connect it, but if you want, I can show it on the website, whatever you prefer.
Also, we have a WhatsApp group. You can also share links in
exactly.
between each
Yeah,
other.
I can. If you want, you can add me as well. So, yeah. Be interested to see what you guys come up with. Nice one. Yeah. So the next bit. I mean, I'm aware we've got an hour now, so I'm gonna go through things a bit quicker than usual, which is good, to be honest, since I prepared a lot of slides just in case. But you guys are very interactive and I'm enjoying this a lot. Yeah, so the next thing that we're talking about, which I was discussing in my break, during the break, is music distribution deals, and basically how you can distribute. You don't need a label per se, but there are label services and distributors out there that basically you can create your own small label and distribute your stuff from. You basically don't need to depend on, waiting for a label to pick you up anymore, which is a good thing. So we're going through the deals a little bit because I think it's very useful for artists to know certain contractual agreements. So you don't sign anything that doesn't benefit you directly. So when we talk about music distribution deals, these are contracts that take place between the artist and the distribution company. The distribution company is a company those companies that distribute, that share your stuff with Spotify, etc. They lay out the terms and conditions for releasing and distributing your music. There are online and traditional distribution deals. Traditional deals deal with physical stuff like CDs, vinyls, etc. So you can work with a distributor that distributes your vinyl, for example, to different independent record stores around your country, for example. In Amplify's case, we're an online distribution deal where you get 100% of the royalties. So we only charge a fixed fee at the very beginning, and you get 100% of your royalties. So we won't take any percentage on each stream. With online distributors, they typically have a direct relationship with places like Spotify and Apple Music. So if you have an issue, for example, like you mentioned, where there was another artist and your songs got transferred to that artist, you can easily solve this by going through your online distributor, and they can talk to Spotify or Apple Music directly. There are also companies that act as label services. So this depends on the country or where you're based in. But for example, in the UK, it's very popular to have these companies where they act, where you can create your own label, and how can I explain it? They help you out with setting up your own label, basically. I mean, they charge a percentage, like everything else, but they're very helpful, since, as I was discussing, they already have contacts. They already have the contacts, so you don't need to email everyone from scratch. They have contacts with physical distributors, with venues, with promoters, with billboard companies, for example, if you want to, you have the budget for a billboard. And they also have a direct relationship with Spotify editors, Apple Music editors, curators, and stuff like that. So if you're thinking about setting up a small label, maybe, or you're releasing stuff yourself, you're releasing independently, it might be a good idea to just Google label services, and a list of companies would come up. If you want, I can suggest a couple of people as well. I can suggest a couple of companies that I've worked with in the past. And they're honestly really helpful because you don't need to, again, spend all that time and energy emailing people separately. Yeah, they obviously take a percentage, between 10 and 30%, but on the other hand, you save all the time and energy from trying to build contacts. So that's something that you can also, look at. And then there's the traditional distribution deal, which deals with labels. A record deal, when you think about, people talk about record deal, also includes a distribution deal. So labels typically take a percentage of the earnings you get from Spotify or from selling a record. So yes, did you already go through the difference between music distribution and publishing? Did anyone of the other speakers touch on that? Or not really?
We've had masterclasses from K7 about distribution. We've touched on publishing in different masterclasses, but it would be very nice to hear it from your perspective.
I'm asking just because I don't want to, So music distribution and publishing, they're different, but they're complementary, like your band. So music publishing, it focuses on the songwriting element. So as we all know, when you create a song, there are the lyrics and there's the music. So music publishing focuses solely on the songwriting element. It doesn't focus on the recorded song. So if your song gets re-recorded by 5 different people, for example, they all have the same publishing, but they all have the different performers performing them. But if you're the songwriter of that song, you get paid every time a performer uses that. Am I making myself clear? So, I don't know, like for example, Whitney Houston's God, she has that particular song. I'm trying to think of a song. It was written by Dolly Parton.
Oh, Jolie?
No.
I'll be...
Great, not the greatest love of all, but anyway, there was a song by Whitney Houston. It was originally written by Dolly Parton before she was famous, basically. And then Whitney Houston re-recorded this, and it became popular, extremely popular. I can't think of the name right now. And then Dolly, when she became popular as well, she released it. But Dolly Parton, since she was a songwriter, she was getting the royalties, the money, from Whitney Houston's version and her own version. So that's Dolly knows what she's doing, basically. So yeah, music publishing. When people say that you get a publishing deal, it means that you get a company to sort all of that out, to take care of who's re-recording that song, if it can be placed in movies, for example, or in Netflix series. And you know, if it gets played on the radio, for example, they'll also collect the money that because each radio station supposedly pays every time your song is played on the radio, by the way. So yeah, publishers deal with all of that. And you don't need to get a publishing deal to start doing this. There are, again, companies online for independent artists. One of them is called Centric, SCNTRIC, and they're international. I've worked with them in the past. And basically, you can also pitch so that your song, you know, lands in the hands of people that do movies and stuff like that. So you can also, that's a good way of making money once, you know, your song is released and recorded. And in the case of, I don't know, songs getting plays on Netflix shows, for example, you get paid anywhere between 3,000 and 6,000 euro for 30 seconds of the song. So it's a very good business. Yes.
So Centric also helps.
Yes. Centric also helps
promote,
you pitch to
wow.
Netflix editors, etc.
Nice, nice.
There is Centric and another Song Trust, I believe, but you need to check.
Thank you.
So that's a very good way of making money after you release your song, because you can record the song in 2023 and, you know, a music editor discovers it in 2025 and you get money for the song you wrote 2 years ago.
I wanted to ask,
yes?
In your experience, so Centric is more of a generic, not generic is not the right word, but it's more bigger
global
scale.
Yes, it's global. And you don't need to go through the whole process of selling your rights. Because many a time when you get a publishing deal from a label, you have to sell your rights, basically, so they own your song for X amount of years.
But how would smaller publishing, not smaller, but for instance,
yes.
Buddha Music is a big company in Germany.
Okay.
But it has more of a editorial.
Okay.
That's maybe more what I mean.
All right.
In your experience or thoughts, is it more for an artist? Is it better to be part of a publishing company that has a editorial or a staff working for them? Or is it also effective to work for this bigger global?
Okay, I get what you mean.
Yeah,
I think it depends on personal preference. With smaller publishers, you have to ask, first of all, which territories they cover. For example, if they only pitch to Netflix editors in Germany. Obviously, there's a bigger chance that you get placed because you're only targeting one country, you know. But bigger, more global publishers, they have a relationship with, for example, Netflix showrunners around the globe. Obviously, there's more competition. So it technically depends on what you prefer, whether you prefer, you know, less competition and a bigger chance of getting placed, but you're limited to one country, or whether, you know, you prefer a more global approach. So I cannot really say which one I prefer. Personally, I prefer smaller agencies, but just me, because you can just email them and you get an instant reply. But I was also with Centric at a point, and through them we landed a spot on an Amazon movie. So it depends on your preference, really. Question?
We do have publishing companies in Portugal as well, which might be also interesting for our colleagues. I think they might know them already, but one of them is GDA.
Yeah, you mentioned them yesterday, I think,
I
when
did.
we're talking.
Oh, because there's Plus. I don't think they pitch, but they're into artists' rights, so you can get a you get consultancy, and if you want to, and also a good thing about them is that they have funds for editing music, and that's something a bit different from. So actually, SPA também, also, but it seems like you have to be a bigger scale artist for them to be interested in funding your stuff. Whereas in GDA, it's mostly about giving opportunity to people that wouldn't have money to fund their editions to be able to do so. So I think it's interesting and valuable.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I think whenever you sign up for something, you have to ask. So even maybe you can ask this Portuguese publisher that you mentioned, if you're interested in signing up with them, ask if they pitch for sync deals. They're called sync deals, which is syncs, placing songs and films in TV shows, ads, etc. Some of them offer funding opportunities or consultancy. They can consult on certain stuff. So it's important to have a conversation with them before signing up for anything or signing any contracts. Music distribution is what we talked about. It's about making sure that the music reaches the public, whether that's in physical or digital formats. So when you work with a music distributor, if you're, for example, selling vinyl or CD, they handle the production, shipping, and distribution of the physical formats. This also applies to label services because they also handle that. And the online music distributors like Amplify, they sort out getting your songs to Spotify, Apple Music, etc. So where do they overlap? Distributors, typically, they have agreements with publishers so that every time a song gets streamed, you get paid. So this is different than the Spotify streaming. You can get paid because the song that you've written, so the actual composition, is being streamed. This is another thing that it's important to ask your publisher about. So if your song gets re-recorded by 5 people, you'll get a percentage every time the song on their Spotify gets streamed. So there's an opportunity, if you're good at songwriting, to encourage other artists to re-record your stuff, for example, and it's a good way of generating revenue. So that's something to think about as well. So distributing with Amplify, if you're interested, I'm gonna show you real quickly how you can do that. It's really simple. You just go on your Amplify page, click on distribution. This row. It loads. You can invite your team members, for example, your manager, your bandmates, etc., so that they have access. So invite people. Create a release. And then you complete all of this. So select existing or upload new tracks. You just, upload a track, upload the cover art, add release details like the language it's in, the title. If there are other collaborators on the release, the genre, label, the release history, whether it's been released or not already. The UPC code, which you can also get from us. We just need to email us about this. UPC is unique product code, by the way. Sorry, I'm mentioning a lot of stuff. But it's a unique code that corresponds, it's like an ID card, basically, for every song that's out there. And you should get this one, because without this one, you won't get paid for the streams, by the way. They make it more difficult. So yeah, you need to make sure that you have all these details in place. So yeah, you get paid. Copyright, and then you just click create. So it's simple as that. Cool. So.
Can I
yes,
also
of course.
ask you about distributing with Amplify?
Yeah.
Is there a team or editorial also working? Is it more of a service similar to DistroKid?
Yes, exactly. It's more of a service similar to DistroKid. However, with Spotify, I don't know if you guys are aware, but you can pitch directly on Spotify for artists.
Yeah.
Have you discussed this?
I'm not sure we have openly discussed.
Do you want me to show you how to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm using my band page, sorry about it, just because I have a lot of stuff on it. So, you go on Spotify for artists, or music, go to music, upcoming releases, in this case I pitched it already, but yeah, this is the song we're releasing next week, week after. So we go to music, if you want to write this stuff down, upcoming, and over here there would be, obviously I pitched it already, but there would be, instead of view playlist pitch. In this case, I'm viewing the pitch. And there are details like hometown, where are you based, the genre, music cultures, and then you write a bit of a description about if you've had press support, for example, if you have any radio teams in place, about what your song is about, what your brand is. This is where branding comes important. It comes in. Oh God, sorry. Confusing stuff. Moods as well. Again, branding. This is where having this whole branding talk comes in. Yeah, and that's it. And the earlier you do it, the better, basically. And this goes directly to the Spotify editorial team in your country, by the way. And this is very important because at least, you'll try and get your music out there.
So this is good for Spotify playlists. So basically you don't choose any particular playlist curator, you just directly send it to Spotify. Yes. But you could do this with a track that was already
No, unfortunately not. It's for only stuff that's
new release.
That's why I told you guys to click on upcoming releases.
Oh. All right.
So yeah, but I would suggest. I pitched it 7 days ago, and it's gonna be released on the 13th. So around 2.5 weeks.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, this is something that surprisingly not a lot of people know about, but it's very
useful.
It's very useful because you never know who might hear it, Yeah. And it goes directly to the Spotify team in your country or your hometown where you're from. So if you're Malta doesn't have a Spotify team, so I couldn't write to Malta. But if, for example, in your case, you're from Brazil and you're based here, they pitch the boat.
Oh.
So that's a good way of. Yes. Question. If you have a question.
Janelle just answered what I was going to ask.
Yeah. Fatima, you had a question? I thought you had a question.
No, I was just distributing my
question. Distributing your Nice one. Yes, so the next step is email marketing. Did you already have a talk about email marketing? Okay, just double checking, just in case. So, why is email marketing beneficial? You may think about brands that, spam you with emails. But in reality, it can be used by artists as a way to build, again, we go back to community, as a way to build that direct fan relationship. Because receiving an email from your favorite artist is different than just seeing a post on Instagram. It feels more personal, you know. So yeah, email is basically the internet's currency. And here are some interesting statistics just to make you aware of how important email still is. Because all the talk is about social media sometimes, but we forget that email has been around since the internet started. So yeah, 90% of the emails get delivered straight to your intended recipient's inbox. The first email campaign was sent back in 1978 to 400 people, and since then, so we've been using email for all this time. By 2013, 53% of marketers agreed that email is the most effective communication channel. In 2020, during COVID, 306 billion emails were sent every day. Every day. And this figure is set to increase to 376 billion daily emails. Daily emails. Yeah. So, email marketing is very important. So there are a couple of platforms that you can use. The most popular one is MailChimp, and you can integrate this with Amplify as well. So when people click on your Amplify page, they can subscribe to your mailing list as well. It's part of the features. And picking the right email marketing platform is obviously important, since you have to look at the features that you need the most. For example, if you have a smaller fan base, a free subscription would be enough. You don't need to pay. So reading the terms and conditions is always important. Other features like certain templates, you know, or certain categories of audiences and stuff like that. So yeah, picking the right channel from the get-go is very important. MailChimp is the go-to one for artists usually, because it's free till like, unless 2,000 people, like you have to have more than 2,000 people subscribe for it to become a paid thing. So for smaller artists, it's perfect. Setting up a MailChimp account, I don't know if you guys need to see this, or but do you want to?
I think we can watch it later.
Yes, exactly. Because I'm aware we're running out of time. Yeah, so this will be in your resources page as well. Yeah, so you're probably asking, yeah, but if I'm just starting out or I'm creating a new project, how am I going to get the people to sign up to my mailing list? And I'm like, yeah, you have a point. So how to aggregate contacts? Yeah, DIY or die, basically. Whenever you're at a show, get a piece of paper and force people to sign up to your mailing list. You can incentivize them by, for example, giving them a free sticker or a discount on your merch, or a free badge or whatever. But collecting those email addresses are important. So even if you have to go around your neighborhood and collect email addresses, that's a good way of doing it guerrilla style, basically. You use your own website and socials, so whether you have your own website or an Amplify link page, I mentioned that you can integrate MailChimp with Amplify. Seeing a pop-up, subscribe to your to my mailing list, for example, is a good way of reminding people that you have a mailing list and encouraging them to subscribe. Some email marketing platforms also offer the possibility of integrating them with Facebook, WordPress, ticketing platforms, etc. So, for example, if someone is gonna buy a ticket to your show, they also get a notification that you have a mailing list that they can subscribe to. Add an email capture to your Amplify link. So you can also integrate, as I said, MailChimp to Amplify. I'll show you how to do that in a second. So you go back to, because this is the distro bit. Need to log in again. So you go back to artists. Click on the artist page. email, it's under email capture. Click on setup and connect it to your MailChimp. It's as easy as that. And whenever someone visits your Amplify link page, they get this sign up, they get a pop-up, like join my fan club, for example. So yeah, this is a good way of constantly reminding people that you have, you have your own mailing list, basically. Yeah, and another question would be, so what would I write in this mailing, this email, I mean, there are different ways. It all relates back to community and branding. In your case, for example, you can share personal stories. And that way, it's like people are reading some book or something or some article. Again, it depends on your brand. You can use it as a way for fans to get early access to your songs, for example. You can, it's just, be as creative as possible, basically. The more unique it is, the better, because people will continue opening it, Some tips and tricks are to craft compelling subject lines, so since first impression is everything. So make sure that your subject line teases what's in the email, but doesn't give away too much. So that people, are interested enough that they click on the email.
Yeah,
Got a question? Yes.
Yes, I basically want. So this is something I've experimented with.
Yes.
Where and sometimes I've just resorted to making the subject line as high.
Ah, okay.
Because then people open it.
Okay.
Because they think it's a personal email. But sometimes it can work against you as well. But then what would be your suggestion if, let's say, it's a simple case of releasing a track and it's the release day and the email is going out? What would you... because I feel a lot of people just don't open it. Like, when they see
New
that,
song
oh,
out now.
Yeah, they'll be like, just ignore,
You can maybe offer some incentive, like...
But how would you mention that in the subject line without, like, crowding the... subject line too much, like.
So there is a subject line and a preview with, so the subject line can be something simple like check out the name of the single, I don't know. But the preview line can be something that's a bit more engaging. It's what people will see once they open their inbox, like, I don't know.
Something that you guys have maybe...
Something that's a bit maybe,
Could you share something maybe Jen would have done, like as your band?
Can't think of anything right now, to be honest. You put me on.
Sorry, no.
But like, I don't know. Get an exclusive discount code, or get a preview, exclusive preview of our music video, for example, before it's out. That's a good way of giving people an incentive to open it, because it's offering something exclusive. People like exclusivity. So if you can think of something, or if you mentioned it yesterday, if someone popular happened to listen to your stuff, like XYZ listen to this, won't you listen to it as well, or something, Because you mentioned that marketing tactic, did you share it with the others? Because it's really good. Maybe you can mention it and I can link it up to how you... Yeah, it's just... Try to come up with something that, that would encourage you as a consumer to click on the email. It requires a bit of thought. What you mentioned about people not clicking on your emails links to this thing about personalizing and segmenting your emails. So with MailChimp, you can categorize your audience into, for example, people that are hardcore fans and people that are, passive listeners, for example. And by segmenting your email list, you'll be sending the emails to the right audience. For example, if there is a guy and he's obsessed with your band or something, you'll obviously send him more emails than someone who, you know, might attend a gig in some city. It just, else they'll unsubscribe if you bombard people with emails and they're not that interested in your band or in your project. So, yeah, segmenting your audience and making sure they are in different categories according to how engaged they are, according to the city they're in, according to different stuff, is important because they'll only receive the emails that, you know, they would be interested in. A good example that I bring up is that, for example, if you're touring and you send an email that you're playing in Germany to someone living in Portugal, it doesn't make sense. And that would, like, that person would potentially unsubscribe because they're like, why is this person spamming me with something that I can't attend? Unless they're one of those people that travel to, but, you know, or like sending an email to someone in Japan that you're doing a US tour. Not, you know, you have to be a bit clever with this stuff. Someone was going to ask a question, or yeah. Or did I mention it already?
Yeah, I think I lost it.
No problem. Sorry, because I. Yeah, if you think about it again, yeah. Obviously, optimizing email design, what we talked about, making sure that it fits with your branding, making sure that it's visually appealing, that the colors reflect your brand, and making it easy to read as well. Vary your email content, something that I mentioned with your example. Don't limit your emails to gigs and releases. You have to make it a bit more interesting and exclusive. Think of it like a story. You're telling a story. So you can include blogs, personal blogs written about, for example, like you mentioned, the environmental impact of deforestation, for example, if your audience is interested in that. Behind the scenes photos from your gigs, or behind the scenes videos. Something that's a bit, you know, more exclusive and that not everyone will get access to. Yes,
remember.
so it relates to that.
It was actually about the exclusivity.
Yeah.
There's a British artist, JP Honey, or Burrier, and he does really amazing personal contact. And one of them was for one album release. He did how do you say? Handmade covers.
Wow, okay.
And I think in an edition of 20. And so.
Yeah, that's, for example, probably what he did was he emailed people about it like, look, I'm giving away 20 handmade covers. Whoever replies or whoever pre-saves the song on Spotify, you'll get a ticket for a raffle and you can win it, for example. That's a good way of like introducing competitions, raffles and stuff like that, you know. So, because people, when they're gonna win something, you know, they are likely to engage more. I mean, I do it a lot as well. If I'm getting a free guitar or something, get the chance. Yeah, so CTAs are call to actions, which are like what you said, like, for example, pre-save on Spotify to get a chance, that thing. Call to action. You're calling people to take an action. So including that in every email, like, it could be something as simple as listen to my latest single, or follow me on Instagram, or whatever. I mean, obviously not in a, you know, you have to be careful. You can only include one call to action every email, else it would be a bit too much, you know. Like, follow me on Spotify, listen to my song. Like, people would be like, oh my God, this is too much. So, yeah, optimize send times and frequency, what I mentioned before. Make sure that you're emailing, that you're not bombarding people with emails when they're not interested, for example, in the tour you're doing in the US. So, yeah, identify when your audience is most likely to engage with your email. And the final thing is to monitor your results. Like everything else, we learn from our mistakes. So if you're monitoring what works and what doesn't work, you can improve upon your stuff. Question?
Yes. Does your band sign with a label?
We actually set up our own label.
Okay.
I was explaining, and we're using label services, what I mentioned before. So they're taking care of pitching to Spotify, of pressing our vinyl, of things like that. So that's something that, and we created our own label mainly because, yeah, we realized, we reached out to a lot of labels, and either the deal they offered wasn't good, or yeah, they were like, email us back when you're doing your second album. Because a lot of labels, by the way, how they're working nowadays is that they need to see what your self-release is doing, how successful it is before they sign you on. It's like they invest in a product only once it's successful. So yeah, that's why I mentioned label services, because getting a company like that involved would eliminate a lot of emails, a lot of worries about how you're pressing your vinyl, about how you're contacting Spotify editors. So yes, we can have a chat about it if you want, if you're interested later on. Yeah, increasing subscribers. Yeah, there's more tips. Making sure that, yeah, offering exclusive content, discounts and rewards, as we mentioned. That was an excellent example, by the way, of that artist. Yeah, a sense of urgency, including limited time offers. For example, in the case of that artist, he or she, he only created 20 pieces of artwork, so people had to reply there and then. They didn't have time to think, you know. So there's a sense of urgency that I'll lose this if, you know. And yeah, unlock pages as well if we have time. Yeah. So I mentioned it before, it's something that we also offer on Amplify. And unlock pages, it requires fans to share or promote your brand first before they can unlock a particular exclusive reward. And these are things that we mentioned already. Yeah, Q&A, but we'll do that a bit later. I'll show you how to create an unlock link, because that's super helpful. So, yeah, with an unlock link, it's like a gateway to something exclusive, basically. So, in the case of that artist, what he could have done is to create this unlock link, and he could be like, yeah, the first 20 people that pre-save the song on Spotify will get this reward. Click on this link to find out more. So in that case, you would go to create link, choose create unlock page, add a link to unlock or select a file. I'm selecting a random file that I have on my, this is an artist, yeah. Working with welcome screen. As you can see, to get access to my exclusive content, just complete one of the actions below. For example, in my case, I want people to subscribe to my mailing list setup. I do the email capture setup, whatever, and click next. I mean, you must have, yeah, in this case, I mean, since I didn't connect anything, since it's just a demo. But yeah, that's it. And you can just share your link with your fans. And once they do that particular action, for example, once they subscribe, they get access to the exclusive content. And that's a way of, rewarding your hardcore fans while also making things a bit more interesting. So yeah, that brings us towards the end of my presentation, which is in perfect timing because we've got 15 minutes for a quick discussion and a Q&A. So yeah, I've got some questions and it would be great if I get your feedback on them, just, so that we get a discussion going. Yeah, so what role does audience feedback play in your decision-making process when releasing music? And how do you incorporate that feedback into your future releases? Maybe I know someone has some story about this. Yeah, Have you ever experimented with release strategies and what were your results? I would like you to share your story, please, because that was a good release strategy. Can you share any valuable lessons that you've gained from connecting with your audience through your music releases? What we mentioned about if you have any experience with community, either with your own music or with other artists' music. Yeah, this is what are the most rewarding aspects of releasing music for you. How do you stay connected with your fans after music release? Maybe this is something you can think about later on, once you've, you know, taken everything in. And looking back on your music releases, knowing what you know now, what you would have done differently. So if anyone has a story that they'd like to share or any feedback, please go ahead. Or any questions about anything that we talked about. Now's your chance to discuss this. The release, yeah.
So I released this track in 2021. It's called Tosca, and again it's an instrumental track. And I decided to actually the artwork of the song is something that fits really well on a square postcard. I'll quickly show this around. Like it's just this, and I basically got like postcards made, and I wrote a personal message to, I think I listed down around 60 to 70 people around the world, not just India. And these were artists who have inspired me. They were some of very big artists also. I did the effort of finding their postal address. And then I just wrote messages like a personal message to maybe Nils Fram, who's someone I've heard for last like 6-7 years. And I just sent it. And some of them received it, some of them even like, you know, they shared a story of it on the release date. So it had a little QR code that you could scan and just go to the release on the day of the release. So I think it's not sustainable to do that for every release because it's too much effort for me. But if someone could like do the whole printing process and like getting it made, I think writing the message was something very rewarding because you're like, it's almost like gratitude. So in that way,
and they shared that with their fans as well on social media. Some of them you were mentioning. So that's a good way of making yourself known in a very direct way. So I asked him yesterday, how did you manage to find people's postal address? And it was quite simple. He just messaged them on Instagram. You never know.
Some I messaged on Instagram, and some I think you can, if you can't find, let's say if it's an artist, and most of these big artists, they have a manager. So you send it to the manager, and it's easy to find the label's postal address. Like all labels have their postal addresses. So
that's a very unique way of marketing your of doing a release strategy, for example. Any other questions or thoughts? Or things that you've learned today, maybe a bit of a summary? We can, you guys can go,
Well, I'm coming more from the background where I've been working with several smaller artists, so I'm not the artist myself. But one thing I have noticed is that there really seems to be a gap between, from a small artist perspective, to getting the message forward or to connecting with the fan base. To making the music themselves and to actually having a personal connection with the artists. With the audience. And somehow I feel like the artists themselves feel a bit shy or reluctant
to get involved in the marketing aspect.
Yeah,
it's I think. It's a struggle because you need to create your art while at the same time you need to promote them yourself. But nowadays it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation. So I completely agree. But I mean, the fact that you guys are artists and you're here willing to learn is already a big thing. So you've noticed that as someone kind of who manages, you said you manage some artists, or you're involved with.
Yeah, and I've also felt that smaller artists seem overwhelmed with how they should do it the right way, and really get stuck in the fact that they need to promote and market themselves, whereas in reality it's just about being a person.
Authentic.
Yeah, and to just get to know the people. So the thing with the thing with direct email contact is something I keep insisting on, and we actually had a small conversation about this, Abhishek. Yeah, I think it's really important to flip the perception from that you're marketing rather than from that you're marketing to that you're just getting to know people.
Yeah. And I think it's also important, I mean, because it can get overwhelming really quickly, and after all, we only have so much time in a day. I mean, most, if not all of us, have a job as well. So I think it's important to really, have a think about your branding and what your audience would like. And to focus on the platforms that would work for yourself and your audience, because it's useless signing up to all the platforms out there and not using any. So it also relates to social media sometimes, because it gets too much. If you do one platform, but you do it well, and you get a good following on there, it's better than signing up to all the social media platforms and not really doing anything. So I think there's like a lot of misconception about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Whereas, as you said, connection is the most important thing. It all boils down to connection rather than trying to be fake or whatever. And just using these tools to really, connect with people. Well, that's a really good point. Thank you. I think we can conclude then. I know that, it's been a long couple of hours. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. So I'll forward this, and you've got reading materials as well and tools. If you have any questions, I'll get in touch with me via the WhatsApp group that you're creating. I'm also always open to conversations. So thank you very much, guys. You've been amazing. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Now we can eat. And drink some coffee. More coffee.